Welcome to PODSCHOOL, where we explore the people, places and possessions that shape who we are today.
Hi Nasiro, thank you so much for coming in today. It's really lovely to have you on the podcast.
It's my pleasure.
Now I'm really looking forward to finding out a bit more about your work and what you're doing. But before we get into that, I like to start with every guest by asking them a few questions just to find out a bit more about you personally. Is that okay if we do that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Great. So hopefully these shouldn't be too difficult to answer, but do you have a sort of special place you like to go on your own or with your family?
So I'm a very meditative person. When I say meditative, doesn't literally mean like I just like to be on my own, and that was how I was brought up. I like to be on my own. So most of the time you will find me, I love reading, I enjoy reading, so you'll find me a lot in the bookshops, as well as maybe in coffee shops, sitting and reading or writing, or perhaps maybe just somewhere where I would just be alone. So a couple of times, some of my friends while growing up, which is quite strange because I was brought up in a very big family in Africa, very extended. In a typical day in my family home, you would have like about 30 people.
Wow.
Coming in and out.
Yeah.
But despite that eventful atmosphere, somehow I just quite like to, keep to myself.
I know what you mean about bookshops. I love them as well.
Brilliant.
I think there's just something in there, all that, knowledge and stories and stuff. Yeah, I think we're going to have a great conversation today.
Oh, brilliant.
Are you particularly, not everyone's into possessions and things, but do you have a thing that you treasure or?
I think for the things I treasure normally are my books, to be honest, the most. But other than that, I also, there's a particular ring that my mom gave me, which I like. But also I like stones. Yeah, stones, that I collect.
Like from different places.
Yeah, so if I go to a place, I try to see if there are kind of stones that are available. I just feel very connected to nature generally, and stones are a particular attraction to me. I feel them to be very therapeutic, if that makes some sense.
Yeah, completely. It completely does. My children like to collect a lot of sea glass, from the beach.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to go on a jewellery making course with sea glass. So I was able to turn it into a pendant. And the lady that did it said that she often has people that do that with special stones as well.
Stones.
You can make rings and things. So
that's interesting.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that. It's really good to get to know you a bit better.
Yeah, thanks.
But today we're here to really sort of get into and hear about your work. Now, I know that you've spent a lot of time thinking about how people's worth affects what they then, or how they feel about themselves, their self-worth affects what they then do. Is that correct? I may not have fully understood it, so please do explain it if I haven't.
No, absolutely. You can see that I sit more in the better posture now to answer this. It's something I'm really excited about. So worth is something I had been thinking about and working on for quite some years now. So just a little background. So I recently left my long-term stable career to pursue doing worth work fully. And the reason being that in many years of my teaching entrepreneurship and innovation and working with entrepreneurs, I just discovered that one fundamental void that needs addressing is the issue of worth. And the reason being that many people don't realize that the worth they carry in the past, which might be from a contact that led to underutilization or underpricing or whatever of their worth, they kind of recycle that into the present and they take that into the future. And this leads to what I call the perpetual poverty of worth, because I do have this saying that I do not think like someone can create an artifact that is bigger than what their actual worth is. An artifact means any form of expression, that be their business, whatever they do in their life.
So that sounds really interesting, but you have to forgive me. I can tell that you've got a large brain that has obviously thought a lot about this. But for those of us that maybe haven't had the time or the brain capacity to do that, just in practice, so have you got an example of how you've seen that play out
Yes.
in practice?
So first I'll cite some practical examples. So on completion of my PhD, I was invited to give a pitch. I was trying to raise some funding. And in the course of doing that pitch, I was asked that question that I really struggled to answer. One of the judges asked me, Nasir, how much was your 1 hour worth?
Mm-hmm.
And it just took me unawares. And I look around and I couldn't answer that. And guess what I did? I just settled for the minimum wage then. So afterwards, one of the judges called me and said, you cannot be at this level of education, experience, and all that, and be able to be undervaluing your self-worth. And it was that time I realized that, yes, I need to do something about this. And afterwards, every other person I spoke to, then it was similar experience that I had. So this is one of the like practical experience, I would say. And another is I had a project opportunity to work in. And when I went into the project, I was offered like a kind of valuation of what I was going to be paid. I said, this was too good to say no. I said to them, okay, I will accept this, but are you happy to review this to what I think is my hourly worth after the expiration if you're renewing? And guess what? What was the answer? Imagine, what if you were them, what would you say?
Well, probably for them, no, but...
it will surprise you and the audience listening to us. Actually, what happened was they come back to me and they said, Nasir, how about we offer it to you now?
Oh, I was not expecting that.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so this is the thing when I realized a lot of people don't realize they are worth more.
Yes,
And
and that they can get they're valued more.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess.
Yes.
Yes.
And the reason being, a lot of the time, our self-worth is influenced by a lot of externalities.
Yes.
It could be the job you did before, it could be the relationship you were in before, it could be several other factors. But a lot of the time, people don't sit down and say that, how about take an inward step, introspect, and find out what your true worth is.
Yeah, that's a great way of thinking about it, isn't it? And I really hope that we can have you back again as a guest and hear more about the things that you learn in your upcoming work to explore this issue, and how people can, help to increase how they value their worth sort of in practice. So thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
It's
And
been
one
great
last
to
thing I
meet you.
was going to say is, when people think about worth, it's not just about monetary worth. Worth, I would like to say, has structures. So sometimes it could be collaborative worth. It could be your network worth. So it's not just about the monetary expression.
Yes.
It's about the full spectrum of your well-being. So I call this worth living.
Thanks for listening to PODSCHOOL Stories. I hope you enjoyed this glimpse into the moments that matter most.